Good afternoon. It is the 11th of October, the year 2022, 1 p.m. Thank you for tuning in to KBC Lunchtime News. I am Nissie, Imano, and we do have a comprehensive bulletin that we have prepared for you. Thank you for joining us. Now, beginning in Kwale, police in the county have launched investigations following an attack on private security guards manning Kombani Fresh Produce Wholesale Market. About 16 private security guards were left nursing serious injuries after the incident.
Kwale County Police Commander Kinywa confirmed the attack on the private guards of Kombani Fresh Produce and Wholesale Market.
Tulikuwa kazi, kama vile vijana tunafaa tujitume kazi. Sisi tulikuwa kazi. Hatukuwa tumeibia mtu, lakini cha kushangaza, kwa nini tunaumia?
3 of the guards who managed to escape were treated at St. Thomas Hospital in Likoni. One was released with 2 referred to Coast General Teaching and Referral Hospital.
Tunataka tuombe serikali ikuwe inalinda hiyo premises vile tulifanya hiyo kazi, because hawezi fanywa na watu wameumia vibaya sana, so hawezi fanya kazi alafu unanyang'anywa watu hivi, there is no payment, so hizo sarakasi ndo sahi tuko na mbaya sana, tunasikia vibaya sana sahi.
The 120 million shillings market, which was launched in December 2021 by the former Kwale governor, Salim Vuya, is currently the subject of a legal tussle between the contractor, End-to-End Limited, and Kwale County government. Besa Kuria for Lunchtime News.
Elsewhere, Christians drawn from Maua in Meru County have urged the National Assembly to consider integrity and the issues of corruption during the vetting of the nominated cabinet secretaries and shortlisted principal secretaries. Speaking at Mwangaza Prayer Center during a prayer and fasting session, the worshippers noted there was need for the God-fearing people to be allowed to serve in the government. Saying most of the crops are withering due to prolonged drought.
Wale ambao wamepatiwa kazi yoyote na rais wetu, tafadhali, ile kazi umepewa, ile ofisi umepewa, simamia vizuri na ufanye haki mahali pale na Mungu atakuongoza.
Naomba wamtii Mungu ili tuwe na amani, na tukiwa na amani na wakifanya kazi wakimtii Mungu, kazi ya nchi itainuka ukweli na itaendelea mbele.
Kama huu ni wakati ambao kumekuwa na kiangazi karibu Kenya mzima. Sasa ningeomba tu yani usaidizi tuweze kusaidiwa vile serikali inaweza, alafu nasi pia tuendelee kunjikakamua na kufanya vyote vile ambavyo tunaweza kuwa tunapata chakula.
We now want to cross over to Kakamega County, where Achola Simon is on standby to give us an update. He's currently attending a workshop there, and he will be giving us an update on that particular story. Good afternoon, Achola. What is the latest?
Well, thank you very much, Nissie. We are coming to you live from Kakamega County, and of course we are keeping a keen eye on what is happening here at Masinde Muliro University. This is the venue of a symposium that is ongoing. This is part of the build-up activities by, of course, the national government and the county government of Kakamega in terms of preparing for the World International Day for Disaster Risk Reduction that is expected to go down this. High-ranking government officials who are actually here, who are actually gracing the occasion, the symposium, and more importantly also, they will be here on Thursday when eventually the day will be going down. Now, Nissie, of course, there are very many questions that Kenyans have asked, especially in terms or in situations or in times when, of course, disaster has actually befell this country. And one of the major questions that I've continuously asked is the preparedness of our personnel in terms of handling disaster, and if indeed you have laws that actually regulate that particular situation in this country. Of course, to shed light on exactly how the situation is in the country, and of course in the wake of climate change in the country, is the Director of Disaster Management in the country, Colonel Owino, who will actually just shed light on exactly what is happening here in Kakamega and what we'll be doing going forward.
Thank you very much. We are gathered here at Masinde Muliro University of Science and Technology to celebrate the International Day for Disaster Risk Reduction 2022, but this IDDR day is normally held back-to-back with that day. So we normally hold a 2-day symposium, which is what we're doing now. We've started today. A symposium which comprises disaster risk management stakeholders who assemble here to discuss issues disaster risk management. We want to know where we've come from, where we're going, okay, what is happening right now and where we're going in terms of what challenges have we been facing in our various sectors? How have we been handling those challenges? Are there things that we could do better? Is there knowledge, experiences, technologies, innovations that we and what we do moving forward from here.
So, Kwale, that is what Kenyans will be asking is that how are we prepared in terms of tackling disasters in this country?
We are prepared. Yes, we are well prepared. But even as I say that we are well prepared to handle the various disasters that normally affect us. And one of the biggest challenges which we are dealing with is the issue of putting in place a legal and institutional framework for disaster risk management. This simply means we want to have an overall coordinating institution that will be able to bring together all stakeholders of disaster risk management and then show them, guide them, okay, in the way forward so that we can be able to deal with the challenges that affect us in the country. So I don't know whether I can expound on exactly what I'm talking about.
Yes, you can actually expound, and more importantly also the issue of legislation, because the bill that is supposed actually to be governing the situation is actually before Parliament, that is yet to be ascended to. Kindly just expound.
Yes, thank you very much. Actually, we have 3 bills before Parliament. The first bill is the government-sponsored one, which is National Assembly Bill number 28 of 2021. That is a bill that we actually engineered ourselves. We wrote it, and it was sponsored by the leader of the majority, I think at that time, Honorable Kimonya. It passed through the National Assembly and was forwarded to the Senate. So we hope that the Senate very soon will be able to deal with it. The other bill that we have is Senate Bill number 14 of 2021, was sponsored by Honorable Johnson Sakaja and Honorable Mutula Kilonzo. They are both now governors, so they are no longer there. But that bill went through the Senate, and it was taken to the National Assembly, and it will be dealt with by the National Assembly of the 13th Parliament in due course. The last bill is National Assembly Bill number 10 of 2019, was sponsored by Honorable Kimani Ichung'wah, and it also went through the National Assembly, and it was taken to the Senate. Our intention is to ensure that the National Assembly Bill number 28 of 2021 goes through as the desired bill, and that the other 2 bills, Senate Bill number 10 of number 14 of 2021 and the National Assembly Bill number 10 of 2019, be stood down, okay? Because the government-sponsored bill is a negotiated bill. It has all the structures that you want, all the items that you want. We think that it will do the country good. So that is where we are. We're waiting for the 13th. The 13th Parliament has just been inaugurated. We'll be sitting audience with the clerk to the National Assembly to see how we can put this bill number 28, National Assembly Bill number 28 of 2021, at the front. Okay. Within, of course, the business of the National Assembly, so that it can be deliberated upon. And in the Senate, both those ones that are in the National Assembly and the Senate, so that they can be deliberated upon as fast as possible, so that we can arrive at least at one bill. It is a parliamentary thing. We cannot tell them to do this or to do that. They are the ones who will decide which of the 3 bills they want. But then what we want is actually the National Assembly Bill number 28 of 2021.
Fine. The other thing that of course this country has been accused of is having very good legislations. However, when it comes to implementation of those legislations, there's always a lethargy on them. one key issue that, of course, contributes to that is resources. We have created a disaster management fund. How far is it in terms of actualization and specific areas that is actually going to tackle?
Okay, that fund is actually a draft regulation. It's called PFM 2012, Public Finance Management 2012, Standing Disaster Management Fund Regulations. It is a bill that was initiated by the Treasury, of course, upon deliberation with the disaster risk management stakeholders, and it is meant to plug gaps in our financing framework. In that, yes, ministries are normally given funds, although albeit small amounts of funds to deal with disaster risk reduction, and we also have the contingency fund at the National Treasury, which is of course the last resort. And of course, so with those two funds that we have, they are not sufficient to take care of rapid onset disasters and long onset disasters. We need money to deal with these issues. And that, so it was seen that, and also, of course, as well as disaster risk reduction. So it was seen that there's need to put in place a fund that can deal with the whole cycle of the disaster management cycle. We need funds for prevention, funds for mitigation, preparedness, response, and and recovery. Yes.
Fantastic. The last question probably for me would be in the wake of climate change. Of course, we are bound to see disasters, natural disasters. Is it time for actually the government to ensure they put down their foot to ensure that we are actually adequately prepared to tackle these disasters? Because they'll be coming.
Yes, it is time. We ensure that of course, that does not mean that the government has not been putting its foot down. It has, but then you see, we have a lot of challenges relating to how legislation is actually put in place. There's a long process which you cannot short circuit. And but we believe that the 13th Parliament will be able to deal with these issues of legislation conclusively. I don't know whether you have something to say about this.
The issue of disaster risk management is a multi-stakeholder approach and all partners. So it's not necessarily that, yes, the government provides leadership, but we have a number of stakeholders.
That's Achola Simon, who's giving us a live update from Kakamega County. That's a 2-day symposium that had been organized there at the Masinde Muliro University in Kakamega County ahead of the International Day for Disaster Risk Reduction that will be happening in that particular county on Thursday. Now, moving on, Africa Center for Disease Control, in partnership with the World Health Organization Regional Office for Africa, hosted by Uganda, will hold a 1-day high-level ministerial emergency meeting on Wednesday this week to discuss the Ebola outbreak. Speaking during the weekly update on disease outbreaks on the continent, the Africa CDC Acting Director, Dr. Ahmed Ogwell, said the meeting has been convened to discuss cross-border preparedness and response to disease outbreaks in the region, including Ebola in Uganda.
Africa Center for Disease Control Acting Director Dr. Ahmed Ogwell, during the weekly virtual update on disease outbreaks on the continent, noted that the biggest challenge is that the Sudan strain of Ebola in Uganda does not have rapid test kits that can determine who is infected. The strain can only be tested in an established laboratory, and at the same time, there is no vaccine to help protect the public from severe illness when infected. He further added that the rapid test kits like the ones used in COVID-19 cannot be used in testing for Ebola, as only a PCR test is viable.
We don't have rapid test kits yet, and we also do not have a vaccine that has achieved emergency use authorization, and therefore we cannot use that particular tool in our response mechanisms. We are providing support for the isolation of cases that are suspected or confirmed. We are providing support to ensure that members of the public are being given the right information across the country. Indeed,
Dr. Ogwell, while responding to questions, say the spike in infection and deaths from COVID-19 in neighboring Somalia calls for the need to protect the population by increasing surveillance as well as vaccination.
If you drop your mask wearing when you are gathered with people, you expose yourself. If you're not vaccinated, then you're more likely to become very ill and therefore resulting in death. So all these are challenges that have contributed to the spike that we are seeing in Somalia.
On his part, the medical epidemiologist at Africa CDC, Dr. Merawi Arago, say the high number of medics infected with Ebola in Uganda was because the infection presents the same way as malaria. 10 medics in Uganda were infected with Ebola hemorrhagic fever and 4 have died.
The Ebola sign symptom is like any other acute febrile illness, like the malaria, meningitis, and so on. So because of that, health workers are usually exposed until we sort that out and catch it and diagnose it very well. Then all the care and especially infection prevention control measures are put in place. We have noticed that the infection prevention and control measures that need to be observed by all healthcare workers are some challenges there.
Africa CDC is now planning to send more test kits and personal protective equipment to Uganda to ensure the protection of medics fighting the spread of the Ebola virus. This even as Africa CDC is set to hold high-level ministerial emergency meeting on Wednesday, October 12, 2022 to discuss the Ebola outbreak.
I invite you to engage with us and participate in the public sessions of the October 12th meeting, which we'll be holding in Entebbe in Uganda.
Countries expected to attend include Kenya, the Democratic Republic of Congo, South Sudan, Rwanda, and Tanzania. Opicho Chemtai for Lunchtime News.
Residents of Kaite village in Marmanet ward of Laikipia County took to the streets to protest, over increasing cases of bang peddling in the area. Their procession ended at their home of a suspected peddler whom they accused of selling drugs to the youth.
The protesters stormed the home of a suspected bang peddler with the intention of executing a citizen's arrest, but found him missing. The residents lamented the bang smoking had risen to alarming levels and had led to poor performances in school and increased cases of death by young children, some of whom had threatened their parents when questioned about their conduct.
Sasa tuko hapa siku ya leo kwa ajili ya wanafunzi wetu. Watoto wetu kama shule iko hapa ya Kite wamekunywa bangi. Sasa hata ukiongelesha mtoto unaoni kama kukudharau, lakini ni kile kitu anatumia. Wanatumia bangi mpaka watoto wa standard 6. Paka wasichana wanakunywa. Na hata ukiwapatia kazi kwako nyumbani huyu mtoto hawezi fanya. Kwa nini? Maana anatafuta pesa za bangi. Kuku kwa nyumba unaona inapotea moja moja.
The protesters accused security officers stationed at Kaite Administration Police Post of abetting the illegal trade and are now demanding for their immediate transfers.
Na sasa tunasema hatutaitikia tena watu mtu ause pagi.
Sababu kama hii askari mmeleta hapa juu, hiyo anakuja kuchukua sesi kila siku. Hata saa hii walikuwa hapa na akamwambia atoroke. Sasa hawa hatusaidii.
Colin Shadrack for Lunchtime News.
And moving on, police officers manning Siakago police station in Embu County have been redeployed following demos by residents who accused them of abetting crime. Eastern Region Police Commander Ron Obunei directed the new officer commanding Siakago police station to expedite investigations on incidents of crime reported.
Chaos has rocked Siakago area in Embu County for 5 days following clashes between residents and traders of Muguka. The residents of Ntao Ward in Mbeere North Sub-County accuse the traders of harboring criminals who have wreaked havoc on them. The residents also accuse police officers at Siakago police station of not protecting them against the criminal and instead abetting crime. The standoff prompted a lengthy security meeting presided over by East Region Coordinator Evans Achoki, who assured residents of their security.
Anaitwa na Jordan. Hizo majina zingine atasema. Wewe sema sasa tunasikia vile watu wanalia. Ndio nimekuleta kwa hapa usikize wewe mwenyewe. Wewe mwenyewe. Kama utapigiwa simu useme I'm sending officers. Kama hiyo mama anasema mpaka leo hatawahi kutumana.
Eastern Region Police Commander Rono Bunei said the OCS, Deputy OCS and all officers manning Siakago Police Station had been redeployed with immediate effect.
Kuna watu wamekuja wachache hapa wanataka kutuharibia na wameungana pia na vijana wa hapa. Kama kwa sababu kuna wengine nisikia walishikwa vijana hapa mbele wameiba pikipiki wanaenda kuuza huko. Na wale wako kule wanakuja wanaiba huko wanapeleka wapi? Wanapeleka kule. Kwa hivyo hii familia hizi ni familia tofauti na sisi. Kama jamii ya Wameru.
Embu Deputy Governor Kinyo Mugo ordered all Muguka traders to register afresh in a bid to eliminate criminal gangs amongst them.
Hakuna mtu yeyote akopaishi ya Kago apitangi kwa soko. Especially venye mnasikia tukicomplain, sio vile tumekasirika na hawa madugu zetu ama wadada zetu venye wametoka Meru. Lakini kuna matamshi mengine mkubwa anaweza toa hata wewe ukiwa unapita kwa njia unaweza shangaa.
For Lunchtime News, I'm Alvin Kaunda.
Moving on, the Kenya Union of Post-Primary Education Teachers Western Branch wants to be included in the presidential task force set up to assess implementation of the competency-based curriculum. Speaking in Kakamega, the KUPPET Western Branch officials said their input will be valuable in addressing challenges in implementing the new academic syllabus. They also urged the Teachers Service Commission to recruit more teachers to handle the large number of learners who are expected to join junior secondary school next year.
Given arrangement, the professionals of that particular discipline must be represented. And how can we have a task force to discuss education and we have no teachers represented? From the primary to the secondary, where are our unions? They speak for the teachers. According to KUPPET proposal, there is a deficit of 80,000 teachers who need to be employed. As we are talking about transition to junior secondary school, let us not forget about employment of the new teachers.
Time now for our fast break, but there's more on the other side of this break, so don't go too far. We'll be back in just a bit.
Are you a holder of unclaimed financial assets? Take advantage of the Finance Act 2022 moratorium on penalties and interests. Surrender any unclaimed financial assets in your possession today. Unclaimed Financial Assets Authority. Receive, safeguard, reunite.
But everybody makes mistakes. You are the love of my life. Why can't you just try to forgive me?
After all you did to me, you think I would let that go and be your wife?
Things that are supposed to sound sweet, when said by you, come out so heartbreaking.
Just as I had thought. Dragon bones buried beneath Sky Wall give the place magical properties. It's been deserted since Mars' passing. But now, there's a mysterious energy surging from beneath it.
And out of nowhere, Rodor showed up, saying he'd seen Echo. Francis was so excited, he set off in search of him.
You're right about what you said. I'm glad that we didn't use the gate or alert everybody. We don't need the trouble.
The world's biggest sporting event is here with us. The FIFA World Cup 2022 in Qatar. KBC Television will air live 28 selected matches, while radio will beam live all the 64 matches. We would like to bring to the attention of the public that KBC is the only station that has exclusive 2022 FIFA World Cup free-to-air FTA broadcast rights for both TV and radio in the Kenya territory, and no other media outlet. Therefore, catch all the FIFA World Cup action live and exclusive on KBC TV and radio. KBC is indeed your true sports partner.
Do you have a news story to share with KBC? Get in touch swiftly on email news@kbc.co.ke or call 0723-892-654 or 0734-780-124.
Welcome back. You're still watching Lunchtime News. Now, West Pokot County has recorded a reduction in fistula cases, child mortality and stillbirth maternal for the past 8 years. This follows collaborative efforts between the county government of West Pokot and non-government organizations from the area that have provided free gynecology surgeries and antenatal services.
And all of these programs are meant to decrease maternal death, to increase access to safe birth care, to increase access to safe gynecologic surgery, which is what we're doing.
Moving forward, we have agreed on embracing the community strategy, where we have these community health volunteers and workers in the community to make sure that the pregnant mothers actually deliver at the facilities. In the dispensaries, we have the health centers and we have the hospitals. That is the only way moving forward that we can prevent all these complications.
Many mothers whose dignity and respect will have been in vain, but you have saved by coming and helping them and doing all the surgical operations you have done. So as a county, we are very, very, very grateful because we know many mothers have passed your hands since you started this process.
New director wa county health anapoendelea kukuja.
And elsewhere, tension is brewing between hundreds of small-scale business operators and Embu County government as Governor Kimani Wamatangi's administration moves to reorganize Thika town. Over 700 hawkers are set to be evicted from the central business district of the industrial town, a move that has irked the vendors who have vowed to stay put.
Thika Sub-County Administrator John Mungai has issued a 7-day eviction notice. Any hawker found selling their wares along the streets and walkways, therefore, will be dealt with in accordance with the law. Led by their chairman, James Mburu, hawkers operating in the Thika Central Business District claim they only operate in the evening and therefore do not interfere with the key activities in the town.
Saa 11 town mzima kutoka Kajiado mpaka Garobatura wanaekelea kazi. Vika ni nini imefanyika? Hata watu kikundi hatu fulani wanashikana wasema ukawavika hata wekelea kazi.
Hapa ndio tunajua mahali tunastahili kupata unga. Ama hapa ndio ofisi yetu ya kila siku. Kwa hivyo tunajiomba jinsi sehemu zingine wanapewa masaa ya kuuza, tunajiomba hata sisi utupee masaa. Hata kama ni saa hiyo saa 11. Ndio tunaheshimu maduka na tunaheshimu wenye wanauza maduka, lakini hata sisi ni wananchi wa Kenya.
The vendors says hawking is the main source of livelihood and many have educated their children with the proceeds from the trade.
Kuna watoto tunaliza na tuna watoto tunasomesha na wako shule. Kwa hivyo lazima tushughulikiwe. Juu hatuwezi toka huku, tunatoka tuende wapi by the way? Huko tunaambiwa tuende Mukereti, kumejaa watu na hata kumejengwa. Kwa hivyo huko hatuwezi toshea. Tuko wengi, tuko more than 5,000. So afadhali watuambie tulipie koti na tukae huku.
Previous county leadership failed to evict hawkers despite numerous crackdown and warnings. For Lunchtime News, I'm Lucy Oside.
Elsewhere, the United States Agency for International Development has renewed sponsorship for a youth-driven initiative in 25 constituencies in Kisii County. Dubbed Kisii and the Level Trust Initiative will operate as an umbrella body for youth groups to spur development projects. Youth groups, representatives from SACCOs, civil society, faith and community-based organizations met in Kisii town to review the 5-year strategic plan and policies on gender mainstreaming, youths and growth. Previously, USAID has successfully undertaken a massive youth empowerment program in the larger Gusii region, which saw formation of SACCOs, poultry, beekeeping projects and grassroots forums to discuss emerging socio-economic issues.
Development and how we can spur growth in our county and make people responsible for what they are doing and transform our region.
Other than the USAID support, which we thank them for, we're looking forward to reach out to other donor support organizations and request their support to fund development activities in Kisii County.
Residents of Kilulu area of Kisii ward in Mwingi North are pleading with the Kitui County government to deploy a nurse to a dispensary constructed in 2013. The facility remains closed, with residents being forced to travel 20 kilometers away in search of medical treatment.
For the last 9 years, residents of Kilulu in Mwingi North have been walking 20 kilometers to get medical aid. A spot check at the facility shows it is not operational. A house to accommodate a nurse who was supposed to attend to locals in the dispensary is unoccupied. John Kathanzu, a local pastor, says on several occasions they have written to the county government over the matter and no action has been taken.
Hospitali iliyo karibu ni kama kilomita 15. Ile ingine kwa Kisii kama kilomita 20. Watu wameteseka sana.
Beatrice Katwi, a community health volunteer, says expectant women suffer the most.
Tunaenda mbali kama Kisii ni mbali, na tukifika huko tunaweza kuwa tumejifungulia kwa njia, na alafu mtoto anaweza ingiwa na baridi, na akiingiwa na baridi anakuwa mgonjwa.
The dispensary was constructed in 2013 by a local non-governmental organization, Akamba Aid Fund. Dr. James Buckle, a trustee of the NGO, says the facility was occupied with medical supplies after construction, but they expired 3 years ago.
It is very sad to see a beautiful building, but with the drugs out of date and no nurse here and the people locally suffering. So we are working with the new government officials, the new MCA, to try and get a nurse in place so that we can continue to help the people of this area. As a charity,
Area member of the County Assembly, Munyoki Mwingi, is urging the Kitui County government to address the issue as a matter of urgency.
Miaka 10 iliyopita walijenga facility mzuri sana kusaidia watu wa area hii, wakaweka mandawa, lakini bahati mbaya miaka 10 yote iliyopita hakuna daktari ameweza kuleta mahali hapa. Walileta ndawa ambao zimekuja kuexpire tu bila kutumika. Unapata watu hapa wako na shida ya chakula, wako na shida ya maji, na pia unaongezea shida ya mandawa. Hiyo ni kama kumaliza watu wetu. Kwa hivyo tunaomba kwa heshima yote gavana wetu mahali alipo aweze kutuletea daktari mahali hapa.
Organic farmers in Embu County have faulted the national government's plan to introduce genetically modified crops. They claim the GMOs have negative effects on the end users and urge the Ministry of Agriculture to educate farmers on organic farming instead. Details on this and other stories in our county's news wrap.
The organic farmers oppose the unbanning of GMOs, urging the government to enhance access to water as a means of enhancing food security.
Tutaki GMO kwa sababu GMO itakuwa mahindi ya kupanda ama mbegu ya kupanda mara moja tu. Hizi mbegu zetu ndizo tunapanda kila mara na hazibadiliki, mazao haiendi chini, haizayani na mbegu zingine zile za hybrid. Hii inakaa ikiwa original.
Mimi ningesihi serikali iwe ikuje itusomese hii organic farming. Wakuja masinani kwa sababu hii mazao ya hii organic ni mzuri sana na misoko yake ni mzuri sana na iko bei kali.
In Mombasa County, residents of Tudor Ward took to the streets to collect garbage as a way of commemorating Utamaduni Day. The residents, led by Mvita Member of Parliament Mohamed Machele, also cleared drainage systems.
Hii mambo safi ama mambo ya environment ni jukumu la kila mkazi wa Mombasa. Lazima tushirikiane na county kusaidia. Wao ni collectors, sisi ndo tuna produce uchafu. So uchafu ukitoka ndani ya nyumba yako, tuhakikishe pia tumefollow up umeenda wapi.
Tumeweza kusema siku ya leo ya kusherehekea utamaduni tuweze kufanya usafi, na haijakomea hapa. Itakuwa after miezi miwili tunatoka nje. Siku ya Jamhuri tunataka kufanya tena usafi.
Elsewhere, Kaiti Member of Parliament Joshua Kimilu has urged the government to complete stalled projects that were initiated by the Jubilee government in Makueni County in order to enable the residents to reap the benefits.
Tuko na barabara siku hapa ambao zilianzishwa na serikali ya Jubilee kitambo 2013-2014 na mpaka wale wasijaisha. Tunaomba rais angalie kwanza hizo project tuone zinamalizika, kwa sababu vile aliahidi watu wake atawafanyia. Nataka kuona kazi inaendelea kwa Wakenya wote.
Meanwhile, Archbishop Hubertus Maria, the Apostolic Nuncio to Kenya, has commended Kenyans for conducting themselves peacefully during the electioneering period. He stated the church's commitment to promoting peace and prosperity in the country. And the Church of Prophets has indicated their support for the ruling coalition, saying they will pray for its fulfillment of campaign pledges.
Tunajifunia na hiyo utamaduni ya Wakorino. Kwa maana Wakorino wakikutana, Kenya wanaongea kuhusu kanisa. Kama mkutano wa leo, tulikuwa tunaongea kuhusu kanisa, vile tunaweza tukaunganisha Wakorino wetu. Sana hii county ya Embu. Na tugitaka kuungana na serikali, na tugitaka kuishika mkono. Mahali inatakikana sana ni maombi. Sisi kazi yetu kama wakuhani ni maombi.
Colin Shadrack for Lunchtime News.
And overseas, China is on track to finishing the construction of its space station by the end of this year that will highlight the country's milestone in space exploration and international cooperation. The Shenzhou 14 astronauts currently in orbit for a 6-month mission will have the privilege of completing the construction of China's space station, which is the country's final goal of the 3-step human space program initiated 30 years ago.
The astronauts who were sent into orbit on June 5 are awaiting for the arrival of the Mengtian Lab module, which is set to be launched by the end of October. China's Tiangong space station is expected to be complete with a 3-module configuration consisting of the core module Tian and 2 lab modules Wentian and Mengtian. The combination of the module, a lab, a spacecraft and a cargo ship is preparing to dock with a second lab, eventually form a T-shape and complete the station. The time of docking in space has been shortened from 44 hours to just 7, while the astronauts stay in space increases from 13 days to half a year. The China Manned Space Agency says the country has begun to work with other countries for future missions in the station, as well as projects including lunar and Mars probes to benefit all human beings. Frederick Parsayo, reporting for Lunchtime News.
And in business, Parliament should amend the Seed Act to make it mandatory for seed banks to be created at the village level to protect Kenya's biodiversity as GMOs are introduced into the food system. Ann Maina, the National Coordinator of Biodiversity Association of Kenya, says farmers might opt for high-yielding GMOs for commercial reasons at the expense of indigenous foods that might become extinct without the seed banks.
The Biodiversity Association of Kenya says the country might soon be heavily dependent on GMO imports that might increase food dependency on developed nations. The food activist warned that farmers might be carried away by the high-yielding GMOs for commercial reasons, a move that could see most indigenous seeds disappear from the country's ecosystem.
Traditional agriculture and indigenous knowledge that we know, over years, the effects of heat, cold, wind and everything have been so paramount in pushing this group of traits, genes together to create all those diversity that we need for drought resistance, for insect.
To protect Kenya's biodiversity, The association wants the Seed Act amended to ensure seed banks are created at village level to protect indigenous seeds from extinction.
This is a first step towards reaching out to government agencies and to ensure that that law is changed because it does not recognize farmer-managed seed systems.
The smallholder farmers, and they give us as a country the identity of the country. If we go to eastern part of Kenya, there are those foods that we associate with eastern part of Kenya. If we go to western part of Kenya, there are those foods that are there, and in every other aspect of the country, there are
indigenous seeds from material perspective, but they lost their tradition because of the loss of seed.
They say introduction of GMOs in Kenya food system could increase cases of malnutrition, since those cropping genetically modified seeds might avoid intercropping to maximize yields.
Finding a situation where, like if you look at America, look at South Africa, GMOs are grown in monocultures. If you visit a small-scale farmer in Kenya, they are growing a diversity because they know the rains might fail. So they are growing their small maize, they are growing their cassava, they are growing their pumpkins, they are growing their beans.
They also want post-harvest losses estimated at about 30%, drastically reduced to ensure food security. Benson Droba reporting for Lunchtime News.
Meanwhile, low-income earners are being encouraged to explore off-plan housing projects as an option for home ownership. Mahiga Homes Managing Director Patrick Muchoki says off-plan housing projects offer developers capital to acquire construction material affordably, thus lowering the overall cost of housing units. Irene Mchuma-Odim reports.
Mahiga Homes Managing Director Patrick Muchoki says off-plan home ownership is an affordable way to purchase a housing unit.
Some people tell me even 20 million is affordable. But looking at economy, how many of those people can be able to afford 20, 30 million? So that is what drove us to this section of where we do between 3 and 6 million. And for the last 3-4 years we have been in business, we have tried to maintain that.
Muchoki says Mahiga Homes has so far delivered 300 homes to off-plan housing investors.
If you look at the setup, the master bedroom is for the man and the wife. So in one room you can put the boys and the other room you put girls. So that means morals will be upheld. In our estates, that house sits on a standalone, on its own plot, measuring 50 by 100. That ensures you have enough space that you can plant grass, you can host people in that place. But still within an estate, we also provide areas where you can hold a party as an estate.
Speaking in Joska, Machakos County, Muchoki said off-plan house development offers developers the option to acquire construction materials at very affordable rates, hence drastically reducing the overall cost of housing units.
So you find a house that was supposed to go for 3 million, you end up building it at 7, 8 million and still not achieve what you're looking for. But we as a company, we've been able to get into partnerships with companies. If it is cement, I'll go to Simba Cement and get it at manufacturing cost.
According to Muchoki, buying off-plan will additionally give an investor the option of tailoring the property's design to suit their needs. Irene Mchuma-Odim, Business News.
And elsewhere in London, the Investing in Africa conference is currently ongoing. Let's take a listen at the proceedings.
We have joint assessment, which saves everybody money. But more importantly, I think now PEs can be able to make presentations in the boardroom. I know there's been some barriers to that accessibility, but through KEPFAKE, you are able to face the fund owners directly.
So you are now open for business in this space. That's a message I take away from that, yeah?
Yes, we are open for business. And again, with the work that I do with MIDA, we now work across different countries, pushing this consortium model and co-investment and collaboration. And let me just say one more thing on co-investment, is that The local pension trustees are very comfortable in co-investing with foreign investors. In fact, it gives them a lot of peace of mind and security, and also protection from what they may view as political risk. Foreign investors, on the other hand, are very comfortable working with local investors because they get asked, you know, why would you invest in that country if the local pensions are not investing? So it works as a win-win.
That's a very good one, Constantine. In this market, and two, how can you work?
That's pictures from London, live pictures from the United Kingdom in London of the ongoing Investing in Africa Conference 2022. A full report will be coming in our subsequent bulletins. But for now, moving on, Airtel's mobile money business has completed separation from its telecommunication arm. The Central Bank of Kenya says the payment service provider dubbed Airtel Money Kenya will ring-fence its operation to focus exclusively on the provision of mobile money services, protecting it from shocks emanating from the other business activities.
In 2019, Airtel Networks Kenya began the separation of its mobile money services to an independent entity and was granted a transition period to complete the transfer. The telco has now completed the separation of its telecommunication and business services, with Airtel Money Kenya operating solely as a payment service provider. The Central Bank of Kenya says this move is in compliance with the Payment Systems Act, will strengthen governance, enhance resilience, and improve its services to customers. Meanwhile, international hotels are taking up modern amenities and tailored experience offers as an entry strategy into the Kenyan hospitality industry. Holiday Inn General Manager Amit Sharma says the choice to build the hotel in Nairobi's Two Rivers Mall will allow guests the luxury of accessibility to a variety of other services. In addition, Sharma believes hoteliers should look into workstations and business travel provisions to cater for this growing niche market. They were speaking when Holiday Inn, a member of the Intercontinental Hotels Group, officially opened at Two Rivers Mall in Nairobi. Finally, KCB Foundation and the United Nations Institute for Training and Research have partnered to promote the use of electric motorbikes by border riders. This is an effort towards accelerating the transition to a low-carbon resilient economy and enable the transition of 25% of the total loan portfolio to green investments by the year 2025.
Our recent focus is geared towards the use of clean technology for manufacture of green and circular products.
If we can make and contribute to meaningful livelihoods, then all of us can retire in the bank and be very happy.
The pilot is being done in Nairobi, Kajiado and Machakos counties, targeting 150 motorcycle riders. Hibak Said for Lunchtime News.
Elsewhere, corporate Kenya is urging the government to fast-track its divestiture for some state-owned entities. The Nairobi Securities Exchange Chair, Kiprono Kituni, says the delayed listing of the companies by the government has slowed down activities at the BOUS. The National Treasury plans to offload its stake in about 10 companies on the NSE. The 10 companies include KenGen, KPLC, Kenya Airways and Consolidated Bank, among other entities. The market has been undergoing a major dry spell occasioned by a lack of initial public offers.
Similarly, the NSE marketplace will help highlight opportunities for global companies looking for international expansion, specifically in Africa. And we recognize you now, in only 1 month of leadership, as a champion for Africa, to consider listing on this market. Equally, working closely with local and international media, the NSE marketplace will open the trading floor for access to all media houses and all stakeholders and our partners to communicate investment and economic-related information from the NSE, increasing awareness of opportunities in Kenya. It shows the significance that you place on our market, and it marks a...
And in sports, Wimbledon doubles junior champion Angela Okutui has secured scholarship to further her education and tennis career at the Auburn University, Alabama, in the United States of America. Okutui made the announcement on her social media accounts.
She will be continuing with her tennis career and education at Auburn University. The 18-year-old will join the institution on a full 4-year scholarship, which will cover both academics and tennis. Okutoi had been offered 30 scholarships by U.S. colleges last month, but settled for Auburn University. Okutoi made history when she became the first Kenyan to win a Grand Slam title after partnering with Nijkamp to win the Wimbledon doubles junior title on 9th of July at the All England Club in Wimbledon, London. Currently, Angela is expected to compete in the W15 Monastir tournament in Tunisia from between the 17th and 23rd of this month, and W15 Nairobi tournament from 14th and 20th of next month at the current country club in Nairobi before moving to the US in January next year. For Lunchtime News, I'm Nora Mwingi.
And in the European League, English Premier League side Chelsea will be without midfielder N'Golo Kante after tonight's European Champions League group game against AC Milan at San Siro Stadium. Kante has not travelled to Italy after suffering a reaction to an existing hamstring injury in training.
French World Cup winner N'Golo Kante has not played since the 2-2 Premier League draw with Tottenham on 14th of August. Morocco winner Hakim Ziyech will also be missing for Chelsea at the San Siro through illness. Meanwhile, Lionel Messi has been ruled out of Paris Saint-Germain's Championship League fixture with Benfica because of a calf injury. Presnel Kipembe, Nuno Mendes and Renato Sanchez are also set to miss the fixture for the host at Parc des Princes. PSG top Group H on 7 points, level with Benfica, with Juventus third. Manchester City are without defender John Stone for their Champions League trip to face Copenhagen tonight. Stone sustains a hamstring injury on England duty last month, and the centre-half has not yet returned for training. Right-back Kyle Walker and midfielder Calvin Phillips shoulder also remain on the sidelines against Aston Villa at the City ground. Emmanuel Dennis' early header had given Steve Cooper's side the lead, but Ashley Young's stunning strike soon leveled things up. The side remained in 16th, having been unable to secure the win that would have taken them 9th.
And most